Did you hear that Stephen A. Smith said that he's concerned about sports media's future?
Oh, yeah.
Right message, I think.
Yes,
Maybe not the best messenger. I don't know.
I would agree. I think that like him and Colin Cowherd and like Skip Bayless, um, like if they believe that there's a sinking ship here, then they are the captain of that ship.
Mm-hmm.
Like again, it's the hot takes. The hot takes are, to me. I'm not a hot take guy.
No,
No.
but that's the direction when Stephen A. Smith talks about the direction sports media is heading.
Mm-hmm.
It's heading that way in large part because of the foundation. And I guess you could say it started with Mike and the Mad Dog and sports radio on WFAN on Odyssey Station, by the way, out in New York. But First Take is the one that really like took this concept that had been around and kind of in the periphery, kind of in the background. Skip Bayless, Stephen A. Smith took it and really took off with it. And it's this debate show culture of you have to have one person is on one side, one person is on the other side, and you're just going to yell about it.
Mm-hmm.
Like the nuance. And that's what JJ Redick went on there and was like, where's the nuance here? It's like, that's not what the show is, dog. The problem is, and I think there's space for shows like that to exist because there's an entertainment factor to it for sure.
Yeah.
It's why they talk about the Cowboys and the Lakers and
the Yankees,
LeBron James,
and LeBron,
because that's they're just trying to like it is pure entertainment. The problem is this is I think what Stephen A. Smith is concerned about is that has now bled into like every form of journalism. You now have people on certain beats. I'm not going to say who or what beat. You can discern it for yourself. You know, have certain people on beats who are there at practices and in locker rooms who are then writing and podcasting from this hot take, I need to say the most inflammatory thing possible angle. And that overlap can't exist to me. That blurring of that area between what we used to call a columnist.
Yeah.
And taking the columnist role and turning it into, I'm just going to say the thing that's going to get the most clicks and the most eyeballs. Like that's that line blurring between journalist and that is, I like I said, Stephen A. Smith being the guy who's concerned about it is like kind of rich, but he's right. Like he's right. He didn't say anything wrong.
Yeah, I think it's also as we've gotten further and further into like the social media world, it's, for example, like last week I wrote 2,000 words on the Mike Brown situation. One line taken out of context and thrown up by an aggregator site with 5,000 followers, like then got aggregated by gigantic Twitter accounts with 200,000 or 2 million followers, and then taken out of context by like so many different people. Like read the article. Like that's the point of the and there is no like click through. I'm not a click guy. There is no clickbait. Even when you're writing, like when I used to write mock drafts for NBC, right? Like people would complain about having to click through on slides, and I would
welcome to the medium.
I would like, okay, so first of all, you're typing out the complaint was more touches on the keyboard than if you just clicked through and read each one.
Sure.
And you have to understand the value of my work and the value of the person who built the slides, the value, everything that we had to do to build that for you. It should have value for us on the other side. Mm-hmm. And either way, like there is no click. Like I've never been a guy who's searching for clicks or trying to get famous off writing.
No, but at the same time, and this is what I try and tell people, there's clickbait.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm trying to think of a good example. When De'Aaron Fox didn't sign his extension, writing a headline that's like De'Aaron Fox future with Kings in doubt.
Yeah.
That is clickbaity because that leaves out all context of the fact that he could make more money down the line by not taking an extension now. That's clickbait. But writing De'Aaron Fox doesn't sign extension with Kings, like, yes, you're trying to get clicks because that's what funds the job.
Yes.
But you can go about that. Like, you're trying to write a catchy headline. Like, for sure, you 100%, when you write a headline, the goal is to get somebody to go, oh, that's interesting, and click on it. Like, that's what it is. That's the job. That goes back to newspapers, dude.
Yeah.
Like, there's the above the fold headline on the newspaper, right? If you're unfamiliar with newspapers, young people, they're folded in half. And then there's above the fold and then below the fold.
So when it's in a newspaper box,
I had that upside down. But
they would slide in the above the fold front page into the window that you see, and whether or not you want to buy the newspaper off of the front.
The headlines.
The headlines.
Right.
The big picture in the front, that's above the fold, right?
Trying to grab your attention.
Even like when I wrote this.
Damien, get in here. We're having real life discussions right now.
We are having real life discussions.
This is big time.
My title for
I don't know. It's always like that in here.
My title for the Mike Brown piece: Mike Brown, coaching salaries and avoiding basketball hell 2.0. Not.
That's a great headline.
Ownership angry with
Mike
Brown
on the hot seat.
No,
that would have been clickbaity.
It would have.
Not what I heard.
Damian Barling in the building. Damien, we're talking about.
Not what the internet said.
This is
right.
This is the handoff. Damian Barling, D'Lo, and Casey coming up at noon right here on ESPN 1320. No, we were talking about Stephen A. Smith being the guy who's worried about sports media's future. Like, come on, dog. Come on, bro.
Okay, bro. This is the same guy who read a text from a source disparaging Jaylen Brown for like no reason whatsoever. Same guy?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
And it's even
the
worse.
Same guy who once basically challenged Kevin Durant to a fight live on his television show.
Yeah, that guy.
All right, dog.
He's the one.
Whatever
and
you
that's
say, bro.
That's what's frustrating about like Stephen A. Smith and Skip Bayless, because I do think the debate show culture, I think there's a place for it.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's effectively like you're sitting around with your friends and you guys are just arguing.
You know what that is? That's pardon the interruption.
Yes.
That's what it is.
Yeah, somebody, I think Soren in the YouTube chat brought that up.
It's genuine conversation.
Yes, genuine conversation.
Yeah, about a subject. It's not, hey, let's get our stuff off here and try to go viral on a social media clip.
Right. I'm going to take this side. You're going to take that side.
Yeah.
And that's what.
To where what you're saying doesn't even become believable anymore.
The thing that sucks about it is like Stephen A. Smith is a great journalist.
He is.
Skip Bayless won awards as a journalist.
Well,
and
I don't. Those two aren't the same.
Okay.
Like, but I get why they're tied together, but they're not the same. Skip Bayless is a.
Oh no,
I can't like.
No, he's a hack for sure.
I don't believe he has a single redeeming quality in him. I think Stephen A. does. I think Stephen A. is an entertainer at this point. Now in his career, he's an entertainer more than he's a journalist. He was a journalist.
Yes.
All of the stuff that James preaches to Brendan and Frankie and all of those young guys, Stephen A. was that. But there was a point where the game changed a little bit.
Yes.
He's not a journalist anymore. That's not what he does. He is an entertainer. He is a very good one. But it's not journalism, it's entertainment. And because of what you're watching, that can get muddy a little bit.
The blurring of that line
has
been the major issue.
Yeah,
I would totally agree. And like when I'm talking to young journalists, it's show up every day, do the job, do not under any circumstance look to get famous off this job, do not be the story, write the story, and look for things that are intriguing to you, that are intellectually stimulating to you while we're in media scrums, while we're listening to coaches and players. Sit there and look for the things that are important to them and become important to you in your brain, and then write about those things.
Yep.
And it's really about just showing up and doing the job. And that's not everyone wants to do that. Some people come in hot, like guns blazing, and then they're gone in 6 months, and you're like, okay, I saw that coming.
Yeah.
Like that's it. Like the job is to grind. It's to work way too many hours, to eat way too many bad fast food meals in the middle of the night because you're driving home from a game, and like at the end of the day to hold on by a thread until the season's over and collapse.
Yep.
And then start all over again with free agency and all the other things that you have to cover. So
can I tell? Have I ever told my Stephen A. Smith story when we had him on at 95.7?
I don't think so.
So we have him on at 95.7, and you're talking about Stephen A. as the entertainer, and that's what I'm the crux of what I'm getting to here, because he does TV, he has a podcast, I think he still does a radio show. Like, this dude is everywhere, right? So he has a few minutes. Matt Nahigian, the program director down at 95.7, knows him a little bit. Hits him up and says, "Hey, can you chat for a few minutes?" I think it was when Klay Thompson was coming back, and Stephen A. is like, "Yeah, I got a few minutes." So Matt tells me, "Call Stephen A." Which is like, okay. So I call him, and he answers the phone and couldn't have been really. Hey, Stephen A., it's Kyle with 95.7. You got a few minutes? He's like, "Yeah, man, I got it. How you doing? You know, da-da-da." Like, really cool. Like, yeah, it's Stephen A. That's weird. Did we get him on air? And like, switch.
You know who
on?
You know who was like that for us? Early 2-hour version of
wow.
Casey.
Way throwback.
We had Michael Irvin on, and we recorded it because we were only 2 hours, and it's tough to fit guys like Michael Irvin into a 2-hour window.
Yeah.
So Danny in San Francisco said, "Hey, we got Michael Irvin. It's going to be at 2:50, 3 o'clock, something like that. We'll just record it and play it the next day," or however that worked out. And it was the same thing. Like, we got Michael, and he was like, hey, brothers, it's great to talk to you. We're happy to do this. And he's just in, total
laid back,
total chill. And then we threw out the first question, and the Southern Baptist preacher came out. Yeah, like just like that.
Wow.
And it
was insane.
It was phenomenal. Like it very literally is a switch. Like, and I before doing AM, like the joke I used to tell, because my family never believed I could talk enough to be in radio. And it's like, well, that's why I'm D-Lo on the radio, is because it's a character. It's not really me. It's like it's a amped up version of me, who's a little more extroverted than the real life version of me.
Yeah.
And that's changed a little bit because of AM and in the video stream and all of that. Yeah. But there's a certain all right, let's go, that comes along with all of this stuff. But you can be on and genuine.
Definitely.
Some guys are on and fake. And you could see the disintegration of certain personalities who started ESPN to where they're in their first days. Like, I'm watching Udonis Haslem right now. And I saw Udonis's first appearance with Stephen A. on First Take. I was like, man, he's really good. Like, he's enjoyable. He brings a great perspective to the game. And I remember thinking the same thing about JJ. And then JJ got shot with the ESPN thing, to where it's like, bro, what are you doing now? What happened to the introspective guy who just stepped off of the basketball floor, who was bringing insight into what we're talking about? What happened to that guy? And then he became something else. I think he's reverted back a little bit to who he genuinely is, because he's calling games now. Right. And that's a different type of animal. But I'm watching Udonis thinking, man, stay this. Like, he's really good. He's really enjoyable. He's really relatable. He doesn't talk over your head, despite he was in the league for 20 years. And I watched him a little bit. I think it was either last night or this morning. And it's like, man, stay that. Stay that, because you're really, really good at what you're doing right now. Don't fall into this other, I got to have a clip go viral on Twitter.
Ugh, the worst. I think part of it is, and we got about a minute, but I think part of it is there's so much more access to information. Like, fans are just smarter now. Like, that's just, there's so much. So the need for what journalists are doing, I think from a fan's perspective, has changed a little bit. I think we're all smarter and dumber at the same time. Yeah. Because an app like social media in general, it's catered to you. Like, your timeline is catered to your likes and your dislikes. A perfect, very, very recent example, as we're running out of time here, is when the Drake Kendrick thing was at its peak. Casey came in every day with something. Drake, but man, he got Kendrick. Because he's more of a Drake guy than a Kendrick guy. So his timeline leaned towards that. My timeline leaned the other way. Yep. Same app,
same social media
Yeah.
platform, but our follows are different, our interests are different, our likes are different, and therefore it can make you both smarter and dumber. If you're willing to look at everything, it makes you smarter. If you're willing to look at one side, it makes you dumber.
People on your timeline were looking at Kenny's timeline and saying they're not like us.
That's exactly what they were saying. Kendrick made a song about it.
What do you guys got coming up?
I'm not sure. Vibes. We're gonna have fun today. I'm in a phenomenal mood. That playlist, when you guys hit that commercial break on my way in, was incredible. So I'm in a good place.
Excellent.